Hey everyone, this is Lori Del and I am here with you for lesson number 8. And this one is called Bringing Your Speech to Life, Mastering That Vocal Delivery. This is going to cover crucial elements like your volume, your pitch variation, your rate, the pauses that you take, and the articulation to adding dynamics and keeping your audience engaged. So first, when you start off your speech, you want to start off with some sort of sensory hook. So for example, close your eyes for a moment. Think about a time that you were truly captivated by a speaker. It might have been a storyteller, it might have been a lecturer, or it even might have been someone just sharing a personal experience. But what made them so compelling? Like, was it just their words? Or was there something else? Maybe it was the way their voice rose and fell, the deliberate pauses, or the sheer energy in their tone. Now, I want you to also imagine the opposite. I'm sure you've been in it before, whether it's been in a church, whether it's been at a speaking event, wherever, and you heard someone very monotone or rushed in their speaking, or even maybe a barely audible voice where you struggled to even hear anything. Even the most brilliant ideas can be lost in that type of delivery. So you're going to introduce the topic and the significance of that topic. So today, we are delving into the often underestimated yet utterly transformative aspect of public speaking. This part is bringing your speech to life, mastering vocal delivery. Your voice is merely a vehicle for your words. It's an instrument capable of conveying emotion, emphasis, and connection with people. It's the melody to your message's lyrics. And without that melody, your words, no matter how profound they are, risk just falling flat. So next, you want to state your goal for the session. My aim today is to empower you to see your voice as a powerful tool, a dynamic instrument you can intentionally wield to add color, depth, and engagement to every single word that you utter, ensuring that your message truly resonates and leaves that lasting impression. And so next in your speech, you're going to briefly outline what you're going to cover with people. So for example, today we're going to explore why vocal delivery is so crucial. We're going to dissect its key components: the volume, the pitch, the rate, pauses, articulation, and then we're going to discuss how to practice and refine those elements to add that dynamic and keep your audience captivated. The invisible powerhouse. Why vocal delivery matters. So thinking beyond the words, it's the subconscious impact. We spend so much time crafting our content and choosing the right words and building those logical arguments. And that's right to do. You should definitely do that. But here's another truth. Your audience processes not just what you say, but how you say it. And your delivery carries an enormous subconscious weight. It communicates confidence, sincerity, passion, and even authority. Many times, even before your audience has processed your first sentence. So, thinking about emotional connection and engagement. So, once again, close your eyes for me. Think about your favorite actor, storyteller, preacher. They don't just recite lines, they perform them. Their voice conveys joy, sorrow, urgency, humor, and more. And your voice can do the same. Varying your vocal delivery allows you to connect emotionally with your audience, to take them on a journey, to invoke empathy, and to keep their attention from wandering. And so, thinking about clarity and comprehension, poor vocal delivery can obscure even the clearest message. So, if your volume is too low, or your rate's too fast, or your articulation is unclear, you're using all those big words that nobody else knows the meaning for except for you, your audience is going to struggle to understand you. So, conversely, a well modulated voice enhances comprehension, and it makes it easier for listeners to follow your points and to grasp those complex, even ideas. And so, when you want to build credibility and authority, thinking about a confident and controlled and dynamic voice often projects authority and professionalism. It tells your audience that you are in command of your material and yourself. It's not about being loud or even aggressive. Some people think that, and it's not about either one of those. It's about being intentional and purposeful with your vocal choices. Have you ever heard of a parent and they whisper something to the children, but the children listen more rather than when the parent raises their voice or yells and screams, right? There's a difference. And so next we're going to talk about the elements of a dynamic voice. So I'm going to call it your vocal toolkit. So the first part we're going to talk about is volume, the power of presence. So volume is simply how loud or how soft your voice is, but it's so much more than just being heard, right? So to be heard, of course, first and foremost, you want to ensure that everyone in the room can hear you comfortably. Project from your diaphragm, not just your throat, right? So just if you've ever taken singing lessons, they say that project from your diaphragm. And then vary for emphasis. So don't speak at a constant volume, right? The Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. Don't speak at that constant volume. You can increase your volume for key points. You could lower it for intimate or dramatic effect. It creates a contrast and it draws the audience in, right? So you might heighten or lower your voice for different things. And then you want to practice that projection. Stand tall. Breathe deeply. Practice speaking to the back of the room. a lot of times at events, I will ask people, can y'all hear me back there? If you look at me here, I'm sitting in a chair, but I'm sitting up. If I was sitting back in my seat and talking, you probably would not understand me as well. And you definitely wouldn't look to me as the authority, right? If I was just kind of hunched over in my chair and I was just kind of talking like this and saying, practice your projection, right? I don't know that I can even talk that way. But think about that. You want to practice it and you want to have, pitch variation, adding melody and meaning. So your pitch is the highness or the lowness of your voice. So that monotone speaking is the fastest way to bore an audience. Have you ever been speaking in an event or speaking in church or in a Sunday school or anywhere and people start yawning? Now, whenever I'm just sitting somewhere and doing nothing except for one thing, listening, I'll tend to yawn. So don't look at me for that. But if people do that, a lot of times it might be you're speaking and you could just do a couple different things to change it. You can allow your pitch to rise and fall naturally with the emotion and the meaning of your words. You could cough. You could clear your voice. You could express emotion. A higher pitch might convey excitement or a question. And then a lower pitch could convey seriousness or finality. But think about also emphasizing certain words. Raising or lowering your pitch on specific words can highlight their importance. So practice reading aloud. Read a passage from a book or a script. Focus on bringing those words to life with varied pitch. Think about if you were reading a book to a 4-year-old. Are you just going to read it like this? The dog had brown spots. Or are you going to read it to the 4-year-old? See the dog here? Look, he has brown spots, right? You're going to be more animated and you're going to have that voice inflection on different words. So you don't always have to think of your audience as a 4-year-old, but you want to think about how you would read to one to make those different inflections in your voice. And then also the rhythm of your message. So the rate or rhythm of your message is how fast or slow you speak. So you want to find your optimal pace. I mean, there's some people that speak much slower, and there's some people that speak very quickly, naturally. But the thing is, no matter which one you do or somewhere in the middle, you want to be somewhere in the middle. Because most people speak too quickly when they're nervous. You want to aim for your conversational space, which is typically around 120 to 150 words per minute, right? But you don't have to get caught up in the time of that. But you can paste, your sermon or your speaking engagement into a notepad or word pad on the computer, and it can tell you how many words there are in it. And you could figure that out of what it should be. Now, there's still going to be different things because you're going to inflect different, different thoughts through it. Like you might just have bullet points wrote down, but you might say extra things with each one. But one thing you can do is you can slow down for importance. When you're delivering crucial information or complex ideas or even emotional moments, you can slow your rate. This signals importance, and it also allows people to process it, to process the thought of what you're saying. But then you can also speed up for excitement. or even transitioning to the next topic. So a slightly faster pace can convey excitement as you move the audience smoothly between less critical points. And then another idea is to simply record yourself. It's the best way to assess your natural speaking rate and to identify where there's areas that you might need to adjust. You can literally do that on Zoom now. We didn't used to be able to do that, but you can do it on Zoom, but you could do it on your phone easy also, no matter where you're at. And just read your speech and practice it. And then don't forget pauses, because there's power in silence. Pauses are perhaps the most underutilized, although most powerful vocal tool, because they're not dead air. They're strategic silence. So for emphasis, you could pause before or after a key statement that makes that statement stand out. You can also pause to allow comprehension. So after a complex idea or a statistic, a brief pause allows your audience to process that information. And then another way is to create drama or suspense. A well timed pause could build anticipation. And then also to control your own nervousness. If you're nervous, that's okay. Pausing can give you a moment to breathe, collect your thoughts, and regain your composure. The only thing is you want to avoid filler pauses. You want to distinguish between intentional, powerful pauses and unintentional ones like uh practice replacing those fillers with silent pauses. Have you ever been in a speaking engagement and a sermon and somewhere and the person says or a bunch of times, or like, I know I use that one a lot and I watch it. I try to keep it to a minimum. But that's it. That's where practice comes in place. And so articulation is speaking with clarity. Articulation is the clear and precise pronunciation of words. So if you're not sure, you can go to dictionary.com and you can even click for it to say the word for you. So words that you're unsure about or you have a hard time with, practice those. I am on an email list that it gives me the word of the day. And it allows me to constantly increase my vocabulary, even though I majored in English. And then open your mouth. Don't mumble or speak through clenched teeth. Enunciate the consonants. Pay attention to the crispness of your T's, your D's, your K's, and your G's. Avoid slangs and avoid words running together. Don't let words just blur into each other, and practice those tongue twisters. They're excellent for improving articulation and warming up your vocal cords. And then you want to weave it all together. And you want to create dynamics. And you want to create engagement. So think of the symphony of sound. Individually, these elements are powerful. Together, they create a symphony of sound that brings your speech to life. Think of your voice as an orchestra, with each element playing its part to create that rich, engaging experience for your audience. And then you want to practice with purpose. Don't just practice your words, practice your delivery. Read your speech out loud. Read it in front of a mirror. Focus specifically on varying your volume, your pitch, your rate, using intentional pauses, and record yourself, and then listen back to it critically, right? Not to get onto yourself or make yourself feel down, but to critique yourself so you can be better. And think about, where can you add more emphasis? Or where could you slow down? Or where could you create more impact with silence? But remember, it's authenticity over perfection. While we do strive for mastery, remember that authenticity is the key. Your vocal delivery should enhance your message, not distract from it. So don't aim for that robotic perfection. We can use AI for that nowadays, right? Aim for expressive but natural and purposeful communication that reflects your genuine passion for your topic. And then when you get to the conclusion, you want to recap those key elements. So for example, today we've explored the incredible power of vocal delivery, dissecting the crucial roles of volume, pitch, rate, pauses, and articulation, and making your speech not just heard, but truly felt and remembered. And reiterate the motivational aspect. Your voice is a gift. It's a unique instrument. So don't let it be a monotone drone or a rushed whisper. Unleash its full potential to convey your passion, to clarify your message, and to connect deeply with every single person in your audience. And at the end of your lesson, you always want to give a final call to action or leave them with an inspirational thought. So for example, I challenge you to listen to yourself speak. Be mindful of your vocal choices. Experiment, play, and discover the incredible range and power within your own voice. When you master vocal delivery, you can transcend simply by giving a speech. You're going to create an experience. You'll leave a lasting imprint, and you'll truly bring your message to life. So go forth and let your voice resonate with purpose, with passion, and with unforgettable power. I hope this helped you. We'll see you in the next lesson.